Welcome, Nate, to this live broadcast. So I thought it'd be really interesting to do a reasonably quick introduction. I've taken quite a break from the podcast. So for the last 3 months or so, I haven't launched an episode. But the next in the interview episodes is coming out on Friday, and you are my guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and what we'll be talking about in the podcast that's coming out on Friday?
Absolutely. It's great to be with you, Aoife, and looking forward to this on Friday. Had a great conversation with you. And I'm Nate Regier, CEO of Next Element and author of several books about compassion in the workplace. And we spend quite a bit of time talking about my latest book, Seeing People Through, and how personality can be a real asset for leaders.
Yeah, it's brilliant. I love this whole approach of it's not types of people, it's types in people. So would you like to kind of give a bit of an indication about what that means exactly?
Sure. Well, personality models have been, and models of individual differences have been around for years. And they have a lot of benefits, but also a lot of people have gotten jaded or burned by these models because they talk about types of people and they put people in boxes and they oversimplify differences between people. But the process communication model is different because it talks about types in people and actually teaches us how to recognize these types by listening to how people speak and then communicating differently so that we can truly include all of the different personality types in the workplace because they're all within us.
Yes, and I love it. And there's 6 different types, and we do go into each of the individual types on the podcast. So if people want to know a bit more about that, they can definitely listen in on Friday. Now, there were some things around its communication specifically. So you mentioned about things like hypocrisy, honesty, influence, self-deception, and trust, and how those specific elements relate to how we communicate with other people, and they are dependent on I suppose the dominant type within us and that's how we are perceived by the world and how we perceive the world.
Well, yeah, because we have all 6 in us, everyone is different in terms of how those 6 personality types are arranged. And so that has unique implications for each person about what it means to be honest, what it means to be true to yourself, what it means to help people. Maybe even what agility looks like. Being flexible and agile means different things depending on our personality. And so I don't know that I've ever seen a book that looks at leadership and these really tough topics of leadership, like hypocrisy, like honesty, like authenticity, and really shows that personality is a big part of that. And if we don't understand our personalities, we can't really deal with those issues in the best way.
Absolutely. I've always been interested in, I suppose, my own self-awareness, but also understanding other people. And I was always very drawn to these, as you call them, the kind of putting people into boxes, putting people into labels. I like to understand things. To me, this is, like you say, a very unique approach. I've not seen this type of approach before, and I think it's a really valuable approach to take when it comes to understanding ourselves and to understanding others as well. So thank you so much for sharing your insights around that. So yeah, another thing that you had mentioned to me on the podcast and when we were recording the podcast was this idea of leadership and self-deception. So I've started actually listening to that book, which I think is another quite a unique book as well, in the way it's set up. So that's really good. Any insights to share around that or how that relates to your own work as well?
Yeah, actually, if you've not read Leadership and Self-Deception, check it out. It's fantastic. And if you like that book, I think you'll really like my book, Seeing People Through, because it's also a fable. It's also about a person that goes on a journey and has a guide that helps them uncover these different parts of who they are. And so it's an enjoyable read. You can get on the journey with my main character, Kayla, in the book. And there's a whole chapter titled Self-Deception, and it's about how with personality we can deceive ourselves.
Yeah, I'm learning about that. And one of the reviews I thought was quite interesting because it said it's a hard read, not because it's difficult, and it's complex language or anything like that, but it's a difficult read because it makes you look within yourself.
It really does.
everything in it is so relatable. You know, the issues where we as people tend to put blame externally to us and perceive that it's other people's fault, and deceive ourselves into thinking actually we're the ones who are in the right, and use other people to back up our own self-perception of ourselves. So I thought it was really interesting. So I'm looking forward to reading your book, especially if it's done in quite a similar style. Another thing I wanted to draw upon was this concept that we spoke about using personality as a way to drive diverse teams. So it's not often something that's spoken about when it comes to diversity and inclusion, and ensuring different personality types are included and that everyone has a voice.
Yes, and in the interview with you, I tell a story about the first time that I brought this idea of personality diversity to the inclusion world. Back in 2013, and what happened. And since then, I've definitely been beating the drum about personality being a significant kind of diversity. And to truly include other personality types means we have to learn to respond to what we see, not what we think we know about people. And so we need a good model to help us interpret behavior and respond behaviorally.
Yeah, brilliant. And again, we share more about that in the podcast. Is there anything else that you wanted to share today? I see there's a couple of people have tuned in live. Got Mary Finn, Ronan Sheridan, and Sarah Restall. So thanks, guys, for joining in live and sharing your comments. Nate, before we sign off, is there anything else that you would like to share in advance of Friday?
Boy, the timing couldn't be better. We are just in front of an election here in the US. Around the world, we're dealing with the pandemic and all kinds of other things. And so paying attention to diversity and truly investing in including people and talking to people like they want to be talked to is a skill that all leaders could use, all of us could use within our families and within our workplaces. So I know this interview with you will provide some great resources and insight.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for your time today. Thanks again for your time on the podcast. As I mentioned, the podcast will be out on Friday. So it'll be out at 6 a.m. Irish time, which at the moment, so there's a bit of a difference in our clocks have gone back. Your clocks haven't gone back yet. But it'll be out at 6 a.m. GMT on Friday morning for anyone who wants to tune in. It'll be available from then.
Thank you. Like it, share it.